We've got a lot to do, and as usual, I feel like I'm under the power curve or behind the power curve. So what we're gonna be doing is concreting the barn here, but before we can concrete the floor of the barn, I've got to get all the equipment out. And I was working on it late last night. I was working into the night, and I just ran out of light. But I've got a couple more things to get out of here. I got 10 bales of hay left over from last year to get out. And then I need to dig a water line all the way down that side so that we have water outside the barn, because where the camera is where we'll do things like taking care of the animals as far as washing them. And speaking of washing them, we want to have the floor sloped or pitched to about the center here. So I also need to dig a trench to put in a drain line so that it'll drain that way. But first things first, I got to empty this barn. All right, we got all of the equipment out except for the extra bucket for the excavator. I'll grab that in a minute with the forks. We baled this hay last year. It's the first hay baling video of Piney Grove, but we kept 10 bales here. But we do get a lot of questions about, why round bales versus, square bales. But square balers are much more expensive than mini round balers. New ones are like, I don't know, $14,000 for one. And mini round balers are like $7,000, $8,000, $9,000. So there's a big price difference between the type of bales. And I think that round balers are less complicated. I think there is requires much maintenance, or they got less moving parts than a square baler. Another question that comes up is, aren't square bales easier to stack? Your Honor, here's your evidence. Well, I got all 10 on there. I had to cheat a little bit and put 2 on the loader. I have zero confidence they're going to stay on there, though. If this makes it to its destination, which is right around the corner, it'll be a miracle. I can't believe we're almost there. Definitely defying gravity. They may still fall when I set it down. Get it under the shelter as much as possible. Keep it dry. If I don't bump it taking the forks out, then I think I've got it. All right. Definitely gonna call that a win. All right, last thing we gotta do is get out the bucket for the excavator, then we'll have the barn cleaned out. Except for the summit and the wood chipper, which I can just drive out in a minute. Everything's cleared out of the barn. And I've already started working on the trench here a little bit. So this water line comes from the mega shed over there, comes off where that hose is, goes under the foundation or the footer, and I'm just going to elbow it off right there, send it this way, cut off that valve, and put that right here for a water source. And this is all going to be stalls, so I'm not going to have any sort of spouts or spigots come up here. And then I'm going to dig underneath the footer there. And out here I want to put one of those frost-free hydrants, and that way when it's wintertime it won't freeze, right? It drains completely. And then we'll have water here on back of the barn right there, and we can use this concrete ramp to keep the animals clean. And anything else we want to do. This is a good ramp right here where we could wash vehicles or anything like that. So I think we're going to gravel it over there. Not sure yet. I think we're going to put a gate across here so we can leave this garage door or roll-up door open. That's all in the future. I got some digging to do. So Deb just came by and she said, why aren't you using Precious, the excavator, to dig this trench? And the problem is it's really hard to get an excavator up against an edge here and dig just a narrow trench. And it's also not a zero tail swing, so it extends over the tracks, and I don't want to hit the wall. So I brought it in here because I need it for other things, but I've been working on this for a bit, digging it by hand, and it's fairly easy to dig because it's not packed here, but I know it gets packed more going towards the camera. I think what I'm going to do to save myself, because now that it stopped raining, it's just really humid and I'm soaked already, is just take the excavator teeth, put them next to the footing, and kind of drag them back. Just kind of drag it back and loosen that soil up. And I think that'll get me halfway down, and then it'll just be a bunch of cleaning and not hard digging in the clay. I'll show you what I mean about zero tail swing. So this is 32 feet wide, and 12 feet of it is taken up by this jut out right here, this room. And my excavator swings past the tracks a good 2 feet. So I gotta make sure I don't hit this wall here. And I also want to be a distance away from there so I get more of a straight edge on my teeth. So while they're very maneuverable and great machines, if you're close to a wall or something, you got to be really careful. You'd think you'd want to be up close to the work, but you get different angles when you're farther away from the work. I am going to scratch it up for the concrete guys so they don't have to work as hard. Like, see, if I was farther away, I could go more straight up and down. Let me go ahead and get it right. When I'm farther away, I'll drop that bucket as straight down as I can. You can see I hit the concrete a little bit here. I don't think the goats will mind. And then I'll just work my way down here. I can get that knocked out pretty quick. Yeah, that's a better angle. Much better angle. You can see how deep those teeth go. It's probably to the bottom of the trench there. Yeah, that's working real good. It's not even scratching the concrete now. I mean, just a couple minutes, I've done 6 or 7 feet already. There's still some shovel work to do, but not as much. I got a GoPro on the bucket, so I gotta move the thumb to keep it angled right. I mean, that's hard right there. All of this fill dirt came from our pond. So a lot of it is clay. Been here like 5 years drying out. And when they put in those footers, they had their Bobcat excavator in here. These chunks of clay were like coming out in like boulder sized. I think I can slide it along the edge here and clean up that concrete. Yeah, that is hard right there. Whatever that is. That was definitely the right move. I am most of the way done, probably got 12, 14 feet left. And this is gonna be so much easier just to clean that out and lay that pipe down there. That's what I dug by hand from there to there. And then from here on, it's all dug by the excavator. Still some clean out, but I'm pretty close to the bottom of the footer there. You can see some concrete right there. And I didn't hit the edge or ding up that edge too bad at all. There's one little chip right there. I'm excited. I really want to get this done and then come in here and dig that drain line as well, but I'm not sure I'm going to get to that today. Rather not do this, but I tried to dig that a little bit with the shovel. It's pretty hard packed out there. So I'm going to try and help my back and shoulders out a little by digging on the outside of this footing. You can see the excavator's at an angle because this ramp is at an angle, which I guess is good because it's actually angling away from the building. Because of this angle, when you're pulling towards you, it actually wants to pull towards the building. I think I'm pretty close to the bottom of the footer there, but that is just packed hard and the excavator's really groaning to get it out of there. There's the bottom of the footer right there. My foot is actually up under the footer. So I'm dug down deep enough to get a pipe under there. I'm just gonna dig this out a little bit more just to give me some room to work. Shouldn't be too bad to dig under it. Definitely enough space there to get a 1-inch PVC pipe. That's for sure. All right, let's see if we can connect that from the inside. My fear is on the outside that I might be right here because of the width of this footer when I should have probably dug it over here. Uh-oh, is that daylight I see? Guys, I think we broke through. We celebrate the small things here at Piney Grove, and breaking through to that daylight, that's pretty exciting. There's the shovel right there. Now I just clean out this trench and lay in the new pipe. Sounds simple, right? It just never is. The trench is all done. I got in here and threw out all of the big chunks of clay and any chunks of concrete that I could find so that the pipe wouldn't lay on anything hard, because this is going to have dirt on top of it and then 4 inches of concrete. So I didn't want any issues with leaking, because once this is down here, it's down here. If it starts leaking, then we're going to have to repair it somewhere else and bring water into the pole barn. But now we're ready to cut the water source pipe, put an elbow on that. I've got 40 feet of continuous pipe there, or 20 feet with a bell end that I can glue together to give me 40 feet, and then a couple of spare pieces. Should be able to have this water line in and headed under the footer in just a couple minutes. This is where the elbow will go, and I'm going to elbow it off probably right about there. I've decided not to go below the footer, but stay just above the bottom of the footer. That's the way the bottom of my trench is all the way across. I don't have PVC cutters, which I should, because I do a lot of PVC work. So I've just got a hacksaw. A lot of times I use my cordless, DeWalt cordless skill saw, but I don't have that with me today. So this is just a guesstimate, but it doesn't have to be perfect. And I did a video recently, actually a short from a long video, where folks were like, why are you using PVC pipe? That's dangerous. You shouldn't drink from PVC. PVC will crack, etc. But I've always used PVC. We have a 30-year-old house that we live in now, and that house is plumbed with PVC, and it's never had a leak. So I don't know why people think that you have to use PEX. PVC works. As far as I know, it's safe, and it's what I'm used to working with. There's gonna be some water in it. I shut off the valve, so the pressure shouldn't be that much. Okay, we're gonna reuse that piece. I'll get this dried. I put a cap on the other end so I can shove it up underneath of the foundation or the footer there. I'm gonna be generous with my primer here. This is a welding process. So the primer actually softens the PVC, and then when you push it together with the glue, it doesn't just glue it together, it actually welds it together. Push it in and turn it and hold it. We'll do a leak check before we close in the trench. So it's right around 48 feet that we're doing total, and this is 40 feet of pipe. So most of what we're going to be doing is these two pieces. I'm going to have to cut it there for the T. Let me go make sure that there's plenty sticking outside. All right, I got it the way I want it outside. Give me lots of options out there. And now I'll cut this T. I'm going to eyeball this T down to the main pipe here. And like I said, I can push it back and forth if I get this cut wrong. A cordless skill saw with a sharp blade in it is the way to cut PVC. I would have been through this a long time ago. That's not bad. All right, I think I'm ready to do the elbow. I've got a pry bar here so I can pry that pipe in the bottom away from the concrete. PVC pipe will bend until it doesn't. That's why I was dreading putting that one in, is because there's a piece of concrete here holding it out away from the footer. And I knew it was going to be tight because the elbow's thicker than the pipe coming up. But I think I got it. I wasn't going to show this joint, but when I cut it to fit, I put my finger in here to clean off the PVC shavings, and I was like, there's something in this pipe, and there's a mud dauber nest right here where I made the cut. And if I hadn't found that, that would have been hard to flush out. I temp fitted an elbow down there, got about a 6-foot piece of pipe, and I'm going to leave you guys right here because when I turn on the water, you'll be able to see some dirty water come out of here when we flush it. But now I've flushed anything, like when I was cutting that PVC pipe, those little pieces of PVC, any dirt that was in the pipe, and this is just cool, clean, fresh well water. All right, I'm gonna look for leaks, but there probably won't be any because it's not pressurized. And I'm gonna take this apart, glue on that end there, and then check it for pressure. So this is the elbow I was worried about, but it's completely dry. I've got the line pressurized. That is the T-fitting, and that is not leaking either. No wet around there. I don't expect the bell to leak at all because that's a very solid connection. And then out here, I glued the cap on, and that's not leaking. I think we're cleared to go ahead and backfill this trench. I'm going to turn on the spigot here, and we'll see how much water pressure we have out of a 1/2-inch hose. Normally I use 3/4. That's the pressure. That thing's shooting out about 8 feet or so. All right, I got that pipe bedded in there nicely up against that footer. Now I'll jump on the excavator and kind of crush some of these big clods here before I backfill against the pipe. This project gets us one step closer to realizing our dream of building our own homestead here in North Florida. But that's gonna do it for today's video. We sure appreciate you watching. Until next time, remember, life's short, tractor hard.